Michelle Graves, your host on today's segment of The Power of Money. I'm glad to have you here. Now, at The Power of Money, we are interested in three things happening. First, we want you to get the necessary education so that you and your family can make the decisions that will impact positively on you in your financial life. The second thing is that you be empowered to prosper. I only want the best for you. And you can only get that if you have education and then the drive to make it happen. And the third thing that is so important to me is that you recognize that life is more than a journey, and that you be energized so that you can begin to participate in the truly joyous experience of living. So here's to empowerment, here's to education, and here's to energy. I'm Michelle Graves, your host, Power of Money, and here we go. And welcome to today's segment of The Power of Money with Michelle Graves. And as always, I'm delighted, honored, and privileged to be able to provide you with cutting-edge information, resources, and people that can empower you and your families to prosper during these very challenging times. And it's deeper than the pandemic, although that is pretty major. There are a lot of things happening in our country. There are a lot of things happening in this world that will have an impact on you. So you don't want to be like the people on the Titanic that did not have the information to know what moves they need to make before it was too late. So today, as my guest, I have Greg Sutter, who is the owner of Greg Sutter Agency. He is a seasoned, long-term real estate agent. I've known Greg for many, many, many years, and I can attest to his longevity, his tenacity, his integrity, and he's the man that I wanted to talk about the changing world of residential real estate. And I say residential because there are all kinds of real estate. There's commercial real estate, there are real estate investment trusts, and we have residential, which most of us are familiar with. You need to be aware of what is going on and the changes that are taking place, and how you, as an informed consumer and a listener of this show, can begin to make the moves to improve the quality of your life and to get through this period that we're going through right now. So, without further ado, I'm going to get right into the meat of this show and introduce you to Greg Sutter, who has a very interesting story because he is headquartered in my neck of the woods, but right now he is on a special assignment in Myrtle Beach, Carolina. So, Greg, are you there?
Good morning. How are you doing?
Hi, how are you? How are you? Good to see you.
Great. Glad to be invited.
I just couldn't, I mean, I know a lot of realtors, obviously, but you have always stood out in my mind as a man of exceptional abilities and compassion for people, particularly as it relates to real estate. Where are you right now?
Actually, in Myrtle Beach. I'm with 7 other veterans that I work with. I help out with stuff, so we're doing some honor guard stuff. I'm down here and just kind of getting together from previous military people that I've dealt with over the years. So it's kind of like a get together. So it's kind of like, it comes with age. You kind of make sure you connect with people that you haven't been talking to for a while. But yeah,
I know the feeling because, you know, I'm right there with you. It's been a long time.
Yes, it has.
It has been. I'll be 70 in a couple of months.
I'm not far behind you.
I know. But I'm just thrilled and blessed to be able to be alive. There's so much going on today.
Life is different.
Yeah, it is. So I'm glad that you're with you. I did not know you were military.
Yes, yep. Air Force. Yeah.
You're Air Force. My daughter's Air Force.
Okay,
she was Air Force as well. So it's a good group. My nephews are all 3 Air Force. So it's a good branch of government. It's a good branch, good relationships, good friendships. So tell me how you got involved with real estate.
Well, real estate, I've had my license off and on for over 40 years. And
40
why?
years. That's a long time.
As an old guy, what can I tell you? It's like I've built homes. I've built homes that were, I've done additions on houses that anything from $50,000. The biggest thing I've done is 25 million.
Okay.
So, complexes. So back in the day when we first started off, it was like, it was easier being a partner involved with people I well dealt with to have a license because we could get our own, we could save a few bucks and we could get what we wanted a little quicker because not that it's different now, but real estate agents back then, they're a little slower getting things completed. And I've always been in first gear, first gear at the very beginning. I'm always going 100 miles an hour and 100 things juggling at the same time. So it didn't quite suit myself and my partner. So that's why I got involved. And then I started off with a commercial. I did nothing but commercial because we needed commercial property. And I did that for a long time. And then I'm one of 7 kids. I got an uncle who's got 10, and I got a lot of relatives that have 5, 6 kids. Then it got to be probably 25 years ago, my cousins called me and said, hey, you've been real estate for 40 years, plus you've built homes, all kinds of homes and commercial for 40 years. You should know something about this. Can you help me find a home? Well, now since I got older, now their kids are calling me. So I don't
wow.
it's all family, friends, and mine's all referral pretty much. So I've done the gamut from commercial. I still do a couple commercials from family people that get me involved, but commercial, like everything else, has changed drastically over the last years, including residential. I mean, the residential, I work for Keller Williams, but the form itself, your sales form has changed 2-3 times a year, always something getting changed on it. So I'm not a broker. I'm glad I'm not a broker. I don't want the liability with that. I enjoy that, helping people. The newlyweds to the ones that are seniors. My wife does probate law, so I'm always around elderly people, and I think that's kind of one of my gifts also. I get along with people along that, and my biggest thing I probably do is I listen. Anybody can talk, but the whole idea is to listen, because if you listen, people will tell you what they really want. And with me getting involved with real estate, I got into it because I could help people, and it maybe sounds kind of silly, but it's nice when I see that smile on their face, like, wow, can you really do that? Can you get that? And it makes all the difference in the world. And when we get to that closing table, I have everything worked out ahead of time. There's no surprises almost 99% of the time for me because I know what's going on. So I can pick and choose what I want. It's something different I do that most people don't do. I list no more than 6 homes.
Wow.
I list 6 because I don't have to do 85. If you call me and I have your house listed, I guarantee I will know more about your house than you will. Because I will spend 8 to 10 hours going through your house. I will know the colors of the carpet, the rooms, the sizes. So when somebody calls me asks about your house, I will have all that detail pretty much committed to memory. So I list no more than 6. And once one of those sells, then I'll list another one, but I don't ever go over 6. I mean, just the whole idea
on the listing side.
On the listing side, I don't want to have 85 homes. I don't want somebody call me and say, well, my house on Reading Road, well, which one is that? No, I'm going to know exactly what it is, And
that is very good. So tell me this, not to cut you short, but tell me this, because your industry has changed with realtors. These young realtors, Greg, I'm having a tough time. They move fast.
Yes.
Are they making money?
A lot of people are like, I'm making a lot of money. I'm actually, last year was probably one of my worst years, but I pick and choose what I want.
Okay.
And, I cannot sell a home to somebody that can't afford it, or I don't think can use it. I mean, if you're looking at a house with me and I go if you give me an idea what you want to look at houses, I always preview the house before we even get there.
Oh, wow.
Because I know the structural, I know if there's something wrong with the mechanical, I know if there's wrong with the roof. So if there's a problem, I can point you in a different direction. I save the buyer's time to even get in there. But with the new agents, nothing against the new agents, but they aren't seasoned, so they're I hate to say they're out for the almighty dollar, but it seems like that's the way it goes pretty much. Yeah.
Well, that's a concern I have because truthfully, in determining to do this show, and I looked at, I really narrowed it down to 2 people. One, a gentleman with KW in Denver, whose mother probably Maxine Richardson. Her son is one of the top, Brian Richardson in Denver. And number one, and then you. And I told her, you know, I'm going to go with Greg because he's older, and not that Brian is young because he's now in his 50s, but I said, you know, Greg's been around a long time, and he's just got a cadence about him, and he's successful. And that's very important when you look at the industry, because there's so much changing. And I don't know, are relationships as important today as transactions?
The relationship, unfortunately, maybe it's a pandemic also, you don't have a relationship. You know, I still like the face-to-face. You know, even though I have a mask on and gloves and I wipe everything down. Even houses now, I go ahead of time, I'll get there, wipe stuff down. Just to make sure there's no problem whatsoever. But the relationship, I mean, I always sat down face-to-face with people first, and I've enjoyed that, kind of get to know what they're looking for. It doesn't seem to be that way. Now it's kind of like, especially now, in most of the world, and houses are going so quickly that, you know, there is no relationship. They're just kind of like, you make an offer and you got to buy it. You know, like, yeah, it's not my style. I can't. It's a different world. And then the bank has got to approve it. It's got to appraise high enough. People aren't thinking. They aren't thinking the whole process through. I don't think. You know,
because it's going to be, Greg. It's always going to be appraisal driven.
Correct.
If a person wants to pay a premium on them, but the bank is going to make that call.
You're right. The
underwriter.
Information's coming into the people. But,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So what is all this movement about? Can you please explain to me why housing values have skyrocketed like gasoline? You know, what is behind this phenomena?
Well, everybody's got their own opinion, but it seems like people are looking to get a little more space because they can't, for the last year plus now, they haven't been able to get out of their house. So, okay, so now, well, as you probably know, like a house with a pool 2 years ago, you could almost give it away, included the house. Well, now a pool is something extremely valuable because now they can stay in their house, they can celebrate their vacation in the house. Pool companies now are probably 2 years out getting new pools built. So that's another thing that's going on.
2 years out, Greg?
Yes, they were out. They were out 2 months. Now I've talked to two of them that are already scheduled in 2022, the end of 2022, 2023. So
for building a pool.
To get a new pool put in, correct.
That's so amazing.
And landscapers, I mean, there's one in Blue Ash that I've used a lot, and he's almost 3 months out. And labor is the problem for all of them. I mean, I know this landscaper offered, and he put in an ad in the paper for $20 an hour, unskilled with a $2,000 bonus.
Okay.
If 3 people call, he called all 3, and none of them called him back.
What?
Yeah, so there's so much unemployment, but there's so many people looking for jobs. You know, there's so many people there's so many companies wanting help. I mean, everything. I mean, actually, I had a stepson actually sold his sold his condo in Aberdeen, Kentucky, and the Frisch's in Aberdeen actually has a sign out that we will give a bonus for employees, new employees.
Wow.
Restaurants. So it means like labor is short in all fields. I'm glad I'm not in construction again because at one point we had 500.
Well, let me ask you, is labor really an issue when you consider the number of people that have immigrated into the United States from South America, Mexico included? Are these people coming in with skills? Because you see them everywhere.
Yep. I don't know what the skills are, but they're seem like they got a free pass to come to the United States now, doesn't it?
Yes, doesn't it seem like that? I'm just, the house next to me, I watched them. This is a 5-bedroom, 3-story home, old traditional home. It was in terrible condition. I watched them gut this house, and I have never seen a house gutted like that in my life. I was like, what in the, should I call the police?
3 days later, it's completely gutted. Yeah.
Gutted, roof on. I I was so astonished that this is what's happening today. And I don't
Yes.
know if there are any quality control, are there any kind of standards? How do you make a judgment without a whole house inspection? And how do you get into the nuts and bolts? I mean, how does this happen?
You're right. And actually, the whole house inspection, more and more homes are going off without inspection. Now, being a
What?
private, a lot of houses are being bought without inspection. There's so
Without
many-
an inspection?
They're being bought so many, there are so many offers on their house, they're put in a contingency that no inspection. So
No inspection?
now, I would never recommend that to anybody for any
Never.
reason whatsoever. I mean, there's so many red flags. I mean, people tell me I should be an inspector. Well, the example I use is that in Ohio, a wood deck cannot have a nail in it. I used to build wood decks with nails. Decks had to have screws or bolts. Well, okay, that's something that's changed over the years. I didn't know that, but yeah, that's a simple example. But if you have a house that's over 20 years old, if you don't spend the extra $125 to $200 to get the sewer inspected, sewer line inspected, you may have roots, all kinds of problems in there. If it crosses somebody else's line, you can easily spend $30,000 to $50,000 on your sewer line when you first buy a new house. So there's so many, and then the roof. I mean, if the roof's bad, water comes down. So if the roof's bad, you can script the rest of the house, along with mold and everything else. There's so many red flags that I would highly recommend anybody. I'm sorry if they have to get a house right away, but you need to get it inspected. At least put a contingency. I want to get it inspected. And you find something major wrong, you can always adjust and back out, but at least get it inspected to make sure you have to have a little peace of mind. Otherwise,
see-
you could have the money pit of all money pits.
Well, see, that's what I guess I'm just an old school underwriter. And, you know, I'm just not, I was like, are you serious?
Right.
You're going to buy a home as a couple and with children, and you don't even know the condition of the home, and yet you are willing to put your own stuff at risk without knowing about the house? Does a realtor have a responsibility to disclose?
If the realtor selling knows something, yes, they do have the responsibility to disclose. Being prior construction, any buyer I work with, I always meet, I get 2 showings. I get a showing for myself to walk through. If they like it, then I set them up another showing, but I get there early also for that. So I do major, I don't worry about the color of the carpet. I don't care about the color of the wall. I'm more worried about the structure of the building, the roof, the utilities, the lay of the land. I mean, I don't want you to have the house sitting here and a house sitting there and have all the backyard flooding towards the house. You know, it all tilted towards the house. Well, that's not going to work, you know, and also make sure the structure on the roof and this joist and that kind of stuff are okay too. If I see walls bending, bowing, that kind of stuff.
God.
And there people just buying them left and right. And like,
That's why I've got you on, because I am not, I don't have a comfort index, okay?
Yes.
I am extremely conservative. I like deals that make sense, that are sound. I don't want first time or even repeat buyers getting into situations where they start drowning.
Correct,
Because
absolutely.
if
want to
you,
have that. Never.
yeah, and then this is a big issue I've run into of late, and again, I'm not in the underwriting industry anymore, but I know it in my sleep, is the whole issue of the foundation. So many of these older homes have sewer issues from Hamilton County, where I live, and people, and sewer problems. Foundation problems from these older homes. What happens in those situations where an offer is accepted, the people move in, and boom, here you go with rain?
Right. You have, because a lot of those old houses have the stone foundation, and they weren't meant to be. You know, that wasn't a living spot like it is now. Now the home, everything's completely living, like the High Park home, the Oakley home, some of those are stone foundations along downtown, yes. Those foundations, but if the owner selling it knows that, or you can verify it, they can be responsible. Again, my wife tells me I'm not a lawyer, but they need to be responsible. And if the agent selling the home, I would hope, visited the home ahead of time and at least looked through the house, they should see water stains, they can see water, they can see moisture. If it's the old house, like you say, that type of thing, the mortar joints are going to be wet. There's going to be damp. They're going to be, if they try to white coat it, it's also going to show different colors. So there's a lot of variations that can show up real quick. And
I see. So that
be
is in
careful.
a situation like that, that would not be a title issue. That would be an owner issue, previous owner issue.
Seller should be correct. And if it's something somebody bought to flip, they should still know about it, but you should still, if nothing else like that, that's where you can talk to the neighbors. You know, the neighbors are your best spot a lot of them.
You're right. Neighbors know everything.
The house has always been a problem, or this is what's happening, or, you know, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I've done that more than once. If I had something questionable, I'll wait around. I'll come back that night when the neighbors come home. I'll give them my card, say, I have a friend, or I have somebody's looking to buy this house. What can you tell me about it? I'm not looking for you to screw the deal up, but I don't want to know something that, you know, there's going to be a major problem down the road. And a lot of times, oh yeah, they have a sewer problem. Every year they got to get the sewer rotted out. Well, okay, that means the lines are bad. You know.
Right. But I'm saying to you, with all of the hoopla and the excitement that's pushing up prices, I'm just wondering if we are not setting ourselves up for another 2008. Now, mind you, in 2008, we were dealing with derivatives and an awful lot of other stuff. But people were also totally overextended. And I'm concerned now because are people going to be able to get the necessary employment to allow them to debt service on that house?
Yeah, and well, it's going to be the same thing. They're going to be upside down and stuff. I mean, if you check you can go back in the last 100 years. I mean, there's always, it's a scale. It goes up and down, up and down, up and down. So, okay, real estate's up. Well, it's going to go back down. I mean, this bubble's going to burst. And
I
when
know
bursts,
it is.
yeah, that $200,000 house is going to be worth 180. Well, you bought it for 210. You're in the hole already. You can't even get your money back out of it.
Yeah.
So and that's where, okay, people are going to be walking away from houses again. I hope I'm wrong, but I could just kind of like handwriting on the wall.
Greg, I hope
go.
I'm wrong too, but I don't think so. We're old geezers. You know, I've seen this. I'm telling you, I felt this.
Yes.
Okay? And people, it's just like they don't believe that this thing is going to happen.
They just believe the balloon's going to keep getting bigger and bigger. It's never going to burst.
It's definitely going to burst, and it's going to burst on the very people that this country needs to make sure they're okay, and that's your middle class. You know,
Right.
they got to
take the fall like they
Huh?
always do.
yeah.
Yes.
So
No, it'll be the
that
middle class.
is, let me just say to my listeners, it's very important if you have family members that they follow the rules and not get caught up in the hoopla of home ownership. Home ownership is a huge responsibility. It's probably the largest purchase you'll ever make. Most people, it's a 30-year, most people aren't married 30 years, but yet the bank's on the hook under the terms of the mortgage for 30 years. Do yourself a favor and talk to people like Greg, because he's seasoned. He doesn't have a bunch of swagger, as the young people like to call it, but he gets it done and he knows what he's talking about. What are some of the other changes that you've seen, Greg, that you think our audience needs to know about?
I think the biggest thing, anybody I talk to, I tell them to get pre-approved, not pre-qualified. Go to the mortgage person you know, like, and trust. And if you don't like that person, contact me. You can contact me anytime, email me, text me. My phone is with me unless I'm with somebody. I'm old school in that. So if I'm talking to somebody, my phone's in the car or it's at home. When I get done talking to somebody, I'll be glad to return the phone call within 2 hours. You can text me, email me. I sleep like 2 or 3 hours a night, so I do a lot of answering at night. If you want me to walk through and look at your house for you to sell it, and you're working with another agent, I'll be glad to give you some idea. It won't cost you a penny. I'm more concerned about helping you so you don't get burnt, because I've seen it happen time and time again. But what's going on now is you need to get pre-qualified with the bank, not pre-approved. That means you're taking that first step. That means the bank has that money set aside for you. You can spend $100,000. A pre-approved, well, okay, if we can get everything done. But pre-qualified, you got to make sure they got the money. They can tell you can get that. They're not going to change their mind. So that's a big step, I think. If you do that, at least you're getting serious. You're getting serious enough that the bank's going to be working with you.
Well,
And
I
then from
think
there-
that's exactly, I've had more than one call about this very thing where people have been approved by a loan officer and not by the underwriting department.
Right.
And when I've heard the data, I said, this is not a goal.
Right.
No.
Yep.
This,
Pre-qualified,
no,
not pre-approved. Right.
it's
Yeah,
not
the
a goal.
pre-approved, the money's in the bank. They can get you the money. Yeah.
That is
It's
extremely
gonna take a little
important.
bit longer, but that's what's necessary. Yeah.
So
Then
are
from the-
people, are these loans closing, may I ask, with these houses that are going above market in terms of value?
The ones I've been involved with, I try not to get anybody I'm involved with too far to go over. I'll do a lot of research. So if example, you're getting a $100,000 house and you're looking into this specific area, it comes on the market. Usually it comes on the market at night around midnight. Well, I'm awake then. I usually get one of the first showings if they're available. Look at stuff. So
Okay, for yourself or for a potential buyer?
For myself or them, either way. I try to get in there myself, and I try to get two showings, once for myself early, once for them, their available time. And then
Okay.
if we can do something, I try to commit to the selling agent, like, okay, we need an answer within the next couple hours. I don't
Okay,
wanna-
it's moving that fast now?
Yeah, some of them are.
Wow. Wow,
So I
because
don't-
I've heard 10 days done.
Oh, yeah, yeah. 10 days, you're, without the inspections too, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Goodness gracious. And funding, of course, in 30.
Funding usually in 30 to 45 days. Some of that's getting out a little farther because there's so many things going on right now, but I guess that would be the same thing. Once you get approved on that, and after you get once you get the pre-approval, the biggest thing then with this, make sure you make a list of what you need. I mean, it's not a shotgun approach. I mean, you want to get what you want. I mean, if you're looking for a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 5-bedroom, I usually tell people, give me your 5 things you have to have. And then you give me your 5 extra things. Like, okay, I have to have this many bedrooms, this many baths, and I have to have this. I have to have a basement because my wife's worried about tornadoes. Okay, give me those 5 things, and then give me the 5 extras. Then I'll send them ideas, even the ones that are pending or have been sold. I'll send them ideas on houses. They'll look at them like, okay, I kind of like this. I get an idea what they like. Then I
Okay,
can narrow down what they really want. And then that way,
okay.
it saves them a lot of time, and hopefully we can save them money too.
Do you find that people have buyer's remorse after buying a home?
Yes, and it seems like a little bit more right now. I think
I'm wondering.
it's with the younger, I hate to say younger, but the less experience. So then they're kind of like, well, I didn't know I had to do this, or I didn't know I had to pay that. Like, why didn't your agent tell you, well, no, you got property tax and you got utilities and you got this and you've got HOA or, this all has to be put into this. And, I didn't know I had the heat bill was $1,000. Well, okay. It's sad. And that's why the very stuff happens to me because I don't take that client. I'll pass them on. I'll tell them, I think you're crazy, but they want to buy a house like that anyway. Like a $4,000 payment. They don't need that kind of house. Like you can always go up.
Right, right. Well, I think that's a wise approach, certainly given your reputation and not wanting to get involved with people who have not shown themselves to be open to coaching or anything. I mean, I just don't think you can haphazardly go into the housing industry and expect to get good treatment if you're not well informed. Is that a fair
You're-
statement?
Yeah, definitely. And actually, what you said earlier, I mean, this is probably most of the time it's your largest investment in your life. Why would you not? Why would you not want to do it correctly? Some people say, well, I don't need to have somebody help me sell my house. Well, if I buy and sell some homes over the years with my friends for investment, if I sell a house myself, I still go through Keller Williams. Why? Because I want to make sure all the I's and dotted and T's are crossed.
Okay.
And that's what they do for a living. So why would I not go to the best? Same thing. If you don't have to use me, but you ought to at least talk to real estate agents to buy and sell. Because most sellers 70, 80% of sellers try to sell by themselves. They still go to a real estate agent before they sell it. They
Well, I was
try
going to, speaking of that, that sell it by themselves, FSBO, FSBOs, for
Right.
sale by owner. I did the math, and I am still confused as to why anybody would want to do this themselves.
Right.
I mean, is it the commission? What is it?
Well, it's got to be, as my wife would say, that she does probate law, it's the almighty dollar. They
Ah.
think that they think that 3% each real estate agent 6%, but people say it all the time. But if you get the right real estate agent, he will save you money, or she will save you
They
money.
will definitely save you a whole lot of money.
And they will save you peace of mind and your time and your blood pressure, everything. I mean, my whole idea, I'm very concerned. My number one concern is for the buyer or seller I'm working with. I bend over backwards and do whatever I can to help them in every way possible. Now, when I list a house, I also put in a contract that you can get rid of me anytime you want. If you don't like what I'm doing. And I also put in there, if you don't do what I ask you to, I can get rid of you too.
I like that. Quid pro quo. I like that. I like that.
Waste my time on it. Like if I list your house, I spend about $1,000 in the first 10 days. 10 days of my money. I send out postcards. I make out flyers. I hand deliver 500 or 600 5-page flyers to all the agents in your area. So I do a lot of stuff that comes out of my pocket, and I'm not going to waste that time and money if I don't think I'm going to sell your house.
Right, and neither should you, because that's certainly one of the things I've noticed about our culture and the cultural change with the pandemic and everything else. There has got to be a level of accountability, which is you can do your thing, but not on my dime.
There you go. Yeah.
Business owners, I don't know how business owners are handling it, but I'm just going to tell you, this laissez-faire attitude, which is, my money, I'm like, you don't have that kind of money to call it like that. And why don't you sit back and listen and learn? But there does not seem to be, just doesn't seem to be the same type of a mindset today as when I was actively in the industry. I mean, just different.
Well, it go back hundreds and hundreds of years ago. God gave you 2 ears, one mouth for a reason, And
right.
so,
listen and listen and listen. So again, as a realtor, as a successful, proven realtor, what advice would you give people coming into the market now? They've got to get out of their rental situation. They've got credit 700. They've got 5% down payment. They've got documented, and they've got closing. What would you say to a person coming in right now?
That person that comes in got a 700 plus credit score, got some money to put down on it. I would hopefully can meet with them person to person, or at least be on Zoom, so I can see how they react to my questions. I would make sure they have the mortgage person lined up, or I can give them a couple mortgage people lined up to talk to. They'll make sure they have pre-approval, and I can explain the difference of pre-approval and pre-qualify. I'd go through that with them, very simple. Here's what's happened, bam, bam, bam. Do you want to do that? And then from there, kind of pick out where they grew up, a little bit about them. They have kids, they don't have kids. What are you planning what's the next 5 years? You're gonna have 2 kids, you don't have any kids. You're looking to stay in your job. This is a forever home. If it's somebody getting older, this is your forever home. In that case, you don't want any steps, or do you want HOA fees, or what exactly do you need? What neighborhood? If you're going to have 3 or 4 kids, maybe you want a neighborhood that's got a lot of kids in it. What part of town do you work? So kind of put stuff. So if you're working downtown Cincinnati, you probably don't want a house in Middletown because your family lives up there. That's an hour.
You'd never see them.
So what's most important to you? So I don't get into price until that's where they talk to the bank. So until they get pre-approval, they tell me, I need a $300,000 house. I said, well, here's where the mortgage comes in. I need to have that to submit with the offer.
Right.
So if you don't do that step, if they don't do that step, they're not serious.
Right.
I've given the name of a couple people. They can contact them, but if you contact them, they'll contact me. If you tell them it's okay, I will know in the next 2 or 3 days. But if you don't do that, If they aren't willing to do that step, then I'm not interested in dealing with them. But that's required for them to do. If they aren't, I'm not going to waste my time. I got too many people that want to help, want me to help.
Right. Well, that's the wonderful thing about having inventory. I would say people that know you and that are looking to buy a home and don't
Right.
want to play around either. They want to get it done. They want to move on. Do you find, I know there's a frenzy of activity on purchases, but are you still finding a lot of people that don't want to go into home ownership at all?
Unfortunately, yeah. Actually, I had two yesterday that they're renting right now, and I kind of laid it out for them. They're renting a house. It's up a little farther north. It's in Dayton, actually, and they have a house there. They're renting $1,250 a month for, and the guy that owned the property, he has 5 properties. He wants to sell them that house for $100,000. And I said, I think it's under market selling that. And he said, that's fine. They're good people. I'd like to sell to them. And I talked to them renting. They said, no, we would like to continue renting, even though they could save money by buying it.
What is
But
it?
they
They
said-
did not want the
They didn't
responsibility.
want the responsibility of it. I said, well, what you would save, I tried to explain the whole thing to them with the interest rate and what they're getting. They could have somebody come cut the grass, repair everything for them. They still have money in the bank. And no, we've done this for the last 8 years here. We'll continue just renting from him. But-
Wow. We just pray that the landlord doesn't die or decide to sell the house,
The family, yeah.
because
But a
things
lot
do
of regular
happen.
people
Huh?
losing their house, the rent's going up like everything else too, so, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's what I want to tell you about, because the shock for me was rents have gone
Right.
through the roof.
Right.
I mean, rents are high. I mean, not to be funny, this is not Chicago or New York.
Right.
Okay, we're in the Midwest, and it was a shock. You can see all that information thanks to Zillow and Truly and all that. You can see Realtor.com, and I'm like, how can anybody afford this based upon the service orientation of our country today? People do not make $100,000 a year jobs unless they're in tech. So how does this get worked out?
It's getting harder and harder. I mean, when we got here to Myrtle Beach, we rented a car 3 months ago. We got it advanced for $280 for a week. That
Okay,
same- We got advanced for 1 week. We paid $280, but we got it 2.5 months, 3 months ago. Now it's $750. If we would have not had this ahead of time, it's 3 times the price as it was then. So it's
the
the same thing.
same property?
That was just the rental car.
The
in
car, is it
Rent a
seasonal?
car,
Wait a minute. The car went for
Car.
that?
The car rental, a small car for 3 of us to get in. We got it for $250, $260 for a week. It is now $750, the same car.
Thank you for telling me, because I certainly was looking to go to the outer islands up near the Carolinas. I've been looking at that, and I've also been looking down in the Carolinas, South Carolina. And you're telling me that on a rental car?
Better check it, yeah, because actually I heard this, that was on the news the other day, Hawaii. A car was renting for, a car a day was there, it was over $500 a day in Hawaii.
For a car in Hawaii
For 1 day was $500. That
for
was on-
1 day?
I believe, yeah, right, yeah.
Help me to understand what that's about.
Yeah. That's when you use Uber, I guess, all the time. Huh?
I guess you're going to be forced to use Uber or Lyft. You're not going to be able to afford to rent a car. No, I've been going back and forth whether to fly and then rent a car or whether to drive my own car, which is fine. It's a great car, low mileage, but I don't want to be on the road for 14 hours. I'll be exhausted, but I don't think I want to pay that, Greg.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I mean, it's like the houses now. There's so many houses that are being sold that need so much work. I mean, I know some of those houses. I've gone through them. I've looked at them. And, they're selling for 5 times the price they should be selling for, and they need major problems. Like nothing to pass on to other real estate agents. I know they're selling houses for all kinds of stuff, but I couldn't do it. I mean, some of these starts have structural problems, and the roof's not on right. The walls
Oh
going.
no.
I've seen mold. I've seen black mold. I mean, I had a house in in the middle of Cincinnati area that was a four family that a guy wanted to buy, and I checked the roof and checked the attic, and they had mold growing up all the way through the whole attic.
No,
And
end of story.
yep, and it was a $30,000 estimate to get it taken care of.
It was 30,000 to cure.
30,000 to get the-
What
to get-
about the owner? Were they willing to make that corrective action?
He didn't know it, and he said, "No, we'll sell it as is," and then somebody else bought it as is. Yeah. If you put now that's a rental, so you put a rental person in that place, you know that's there, so their health could be in problems. Like it's like just more and more red flags go up to me all the time. Like really, how can you do that? How can you live with yourself? I guess
How
that's
can
the
you?
problem.
Well, that's the question that I'm asking myself more and more as I see, hear, and watch things that I just wouldn't have seen even 5 years ago, Greg. I'm not kidding you.
You're right.
This issue of money, and I tell you, money is got limited use value when you are sick and when you are looking at death. Some things have to shift. And my concern is, number one, would a person sell a home with black mold, knowing it? And would an investor buy a home with black mold, knowing it? Where is the liability? I'm not an attorney, but where is the liability at the point you are now exposing children and people to something like that? I mean, are we a third world country now? Is this where we are?
It just nobody seems that personal care stuff. I mean, I coined something probably 40 years ago. I called ownership pride.
Yes.
If I work for you, or if I work for whoever I work for, I treat it like my company. I
Right.
don't care if like Keller Williams. I don't own Keller Williams, but I treat it like Keller Williams.
Right.
Company, whatever I work for. And when I built homes, I mean, I only own part of the ownership of it. The other company that I worked for, I acted like it was my company. It was all ownership pride. I hate to say that, but it's kind of gone out the window. I mean, like, it doesn't matter. The people aren't concerned about each other. The human element isn't that important as it used to be. Like, I don't know. Well, why can you not treat people nicely?
I don't know why and just as a
Well-
personal mindset, I am a Christian. I don't play with that. I do believe that you are held accountable. I do believe karma is real. And because I work with seniors, I get to see a lot of karma, by the way, Greg. I'm not kidding you. People that were hot stuff, I mean, when you see what's happening, you're like, no, I don't think I want to do that. I think I'm just going to stay on this path. I'm going to do what's right, period. And we all know what's right. Our parents did raise us
There you go.
to know. I mean, I think they did, that you do what's right, period.
Right.
You don't
Right.
do those kind of things to people and then try to smooth it out because it's coming out of your rear end. It's going to come and get you. It's going to get you.
When I built homes, the guys that worked for me, like, it take 10% more cost to do it correctly, the maximum. So if I'm building a home for $100,000, it might cost me $110. But if I don't do that right, something's wrong with that house 6 months from now. When I come back to it, it's going to cost me at least 30%. So I've always kind of told that scenario to people, like, let's just do it right. It might cost a little more now, but it's going to be correct, and we aren't going to have any hassles. When we come back to it, there are going to be a lot more things they're going to find. Plus, we're going to, they realize we took a shortcut. I don't want that on my name. I don't be associated with that. Back to ethics, and everything's supposed to be done correctly.
I totally agree. Are you very involved with the senior population as far as real estate sales and purchases?
Yes, I've got my senior license for just doing that, and actually with my wife doing probate. I tell you what, I can't tell me how many deathbeds I've been on where people said, "I wish I had spent more time with my family, friends." I've never heard anybody say, "I wish I would have worked more."
Oh, isn't that, you know what? And I'm not going to tell you a lie. I was a definite workaholic, and
Yep, me-
and I'm not kidding you. For years, I didn't even think about 12-hour days, longer than that. And now, as I'm older, and I look around, and I'm just like, man, no.
What did I do?
Nah, Nah, nah. I'm going to see the grandkids. I'm going to do that today.
There you
But
go.
with your seniors, do you have that designation, the SRES?
Yes, yeah, correct. Yep.
Okay, okay.
I've
Because
got,
Art,
I've probably got a dozen resident, dozen different ones. I mean, I guess it really doesn't mean anything to me. I did it, I took them to learn what I can. I'm kind of a
okay,
little,
okay. Good. Well,
little,
that's, I just asked because that was a big thing with me years and years ago. Art Reed was
yeah.
involved with that program over in Kentucky, and there are some other people that are fine, fine people.
SRES, right, yeah, right.
Yeah,
Senior real estate specialist, yeah.
yeah, that's a good one too. So what are the challenges that you would speak to relative to the senior population? Because they came out of a different era.
Well, what I do, I mean, because actually with my wife and I deal with a couple other probate attorneys, a lot of times family and friends, it's hard for them to talk to their parents, especially if they're out of town. So more than once, I'll go to, example would be if I went to visit somebody's parents, your parents, okay? Say they're in Florida, I'm in Florida, whatever. So I visit your parents and, hey, you're thinking about maybe moving to a smaller house. Well, I like this 2-story that I'll be sitting there, I just listen, and then I'll accidentally knock my pen on the floor. Oh, can you pick it up? Well, I can't really bend over. Okay.
Oh, geez.
And then, it's like, can I have a cup of tea? Can you start? Well, I really can't reach the cups up there. Oh, okay. And then they kind of think like, well, maybe I can't do as much as I thought I could do. And I'm a third party. So they kind of
Okay.
like, okay, there's something there. So that helps. But other seniors, I mean, like if they're ready to downside, I can communicate with them, I guess because of age too. I can, here's what's happened. Here's what you might want to think about. And I give them pros and cons. And usually the seniors aren't ready. They aren't the snap decision people. Like most of the time they'll thinking things through. Like, here's what's happening. Here's what I do. Where you want to go? You want to move by your grandkids? Or you want to just do something small? You want something with no steps at all? Do you need to have a garage? Or do you really want that at all? Do you want to go to a condo? You don't have to touch anything outside, Or you want a landominium where hey, you got your own building, but they take care of the outside for you. There's a lot of different things that go into what they want. I mean, is your wife or husband almost in a wheelchair? Or you think you want to make the next step? You want to have somewhere that's going to be more care for you down the road? Because some of these places you can get a landominium, then go from there. There's care, different areas.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, those are very popular. Those are good alternatives for people that want independent living. That can
Correct.
work out very well for them. So what would your core recommendation be to a senior that wants to buy a house?
It would be what do they need? What size do they need? That was probably the biggest thing. Is it an individual, one person? What do you need? And then I'd ask them, what are you going to live on? Do you live on the first floor only? Why do you need a basement? Or why do you need a second floor? So your core is here's what you have to have. You need one master bath. You want no tub. You want a shower, or you want a separate tub also in case you want a soap. What's going to work for you. Think ahead. Also, at least a 5-year plan. Here's what you're going to be 5 years from now. Is it you and your wife, or just you? What do you need to get done? Where are your kids, if you have kids or grandkids? They're going to come visit. Where are they going to stay? You got a room for them, or they got to go somewhere else? Or you're going to try to all get together in the same room? Look at trip hazards, that kind of stuff. If you need a driveway, okay, is the driveway go right into the garage, attached to the house with one step coming into the house, or same plane? You don't have any steps at all. Just think of stuff that it's going to work best for you. Your cabinets. If you're in a wheelchair, well, it's special cabinets. You need something that's sitting lower, or is it possible to put those in there? Would the seller maybe allow more that to happen?
Can they do that? A seller can make those
Oh, yeah.
improvements?
Yeah. Yep.
That's good to know.
More than one. And actually, I can, if somebody's in a wheelchair, there's some of those houses are listed separately too, so I can find out ahead of time. But that's where my construction comes in. I know, because people say, well, it's going to cost you $10,000 for a grand accountant. No, it's not. It's going to cost you $2,500. Here's 3 people to do that for you. Oh, okay. Well, it's going to cost $30,000 for all these cabinets. No, it doesn't have to be that way. Here's some people that will do this for us, that'll fit for a wheelchair. Or your bath, your sink has to be different. It has to be, the plumbing underneath has to be different. The wheelchair can get up underneath it. All that stuff is not near as expensive as people think it is, but the lights go off like it's all dollar signs. Well, yes, it is to a point, but it's not the point most people think it is.
Well, I tell you, that's extremely good advice, but I think that a lot of people don't know who to turn to.
Right.
They don't
There-
know a person
there's-
like Greg Sutter. They don't know. So they go by television, frequent,
Yes.
radio. They don't really have that intimacy that's required to make those moves. But I'm glad you're actively in that market. Give us a phone number, time's up.
Sure. 513-404-3920. 513-404-3920. Or you can shoot me an email, Greg, G-R-E-G-G-S-U-T-T-E-R, the number one, gregsutter1 @gmail.com.
And I
if you're
will tell all of you that are watching, he does answer his phone.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I must tell you, I do, but there's so many people with technology today. It's just
Right.
let it go to voicemail and they get it whenever. And I'm just like, I don't like that.
No. Now, if I'm with somebody, my phone's not with me. But once I'm not with somebody and my phone's with me, and I'll answer the phone. And you can call me at midnight. I'm available. So you have questions. And if you're working with somebody else, not a problem. I'm not looking to take people's business from them, but I'll be glad to help you any way I can.
But
And
see,
we'll
that's just such a professional part of your personality. But I want to close out today by first thanking you for your willingness to come on to this interview, because I wanted to ask some questions about the industry, because I'm absolutely surprised at some of the things that are going on, and I don't believe they're good outcomes. I just don't believe it. I don't know, 2008 bent everybody over. And I'm just really kind of nervous. The other thing, and I'm going to say this quickly, I subscribe to the Federal Reserve's, they do a monthly bulletin, and banks are building up their loan loss reserves for mortgages.
Yep.
That's telling you they're already anticipating this blowback. So I thought I'd drop that in. I just want to again thank you for coming online and virtual. And I look forward to, again, great success for you and your wife, and great success for all those great men that serve our country, Air Force guys. I'm family. Yes, I am. And you have a great day, Greg. Okay?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Thanks for
Okay,
inviting me.
you take care.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Bye.
And God
Bye-bye.
bless you all for tuning in to Greg Sutter on today's Power of Money, changes in the real estate industry. Everything's on steroids right now. Everything. It's more than just medication. Our entire lifestyles have accelerated, amplified, and it's just crazy out here. But I will say to you again, it's all about getting the information, being willing to take the necessary steps. Change is hard, but you must do it. And be knowledgeable. And if you don't know, don't be ashamed to ask those who can know and do know. I tell people all the time, busy people are busy for a reason, but it doesn't mean they don't have time to answer an inquiry. So keep that in your belt pocket in terms of how to move and navigate, and we'll all get through this. We will. I believe that. I absolutely do. So God bless you richly today, and you have a great, great, great life. Michelle Graves, thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.